Hi and welcome to Golf FM. This is a test on the Callaway HL Elyte against the Taylormade Qi HL. So these are the higher launching versions of the standard clubs. I've done a test on the standard Elyte before. I was really impressed with it, but it's 28 degrees and this HL is 30 alongside the Taylormade at 30 degrees as well. So they've got more loft, but especially in the Callaway, it's quite noticeable that they've changed a little bit about the head as well. But I'll get into that in a minute. What I should say first of all is that these clubs are around about the same price. You're looking at about £1,000 for a 7-iron set in steel shafts, a little bit more for graphite. A lot of these sets might well be made up in graphite if they're going for HL. They are designed for people who maybe don't have the speed necessary for the standard versions. The standard versions are pretty strong lofted and can fall out of the air a bit too quick if you don't have a lot of speed. So these lofts have gone back to somewhere into respectable terms, but it's still pretty strong actually historically, because you're looking at about 34, 35 degrees traditionally for a 7-iron, and it's now 30 and 28. So, you know, they are getting stronger lofted. These clubs have also started to eke the length out on the irons, which I'm not a massive fan of. I think Taylormade started it with going to 37.25 instead of just 37, and Callaway have since done the same. And the justification for that is they're saying, well, you can hit it anywhere on the face because they're so forgiving. We've got these AI faces where we've had supercomputers design in the forgiveness areas, where we've got it thick, where we've got it thin, so that when you miss the ball in the most common places, you're still getting a lot of speed. And forgiveness generally is just holding on to speed, holding on to ball speed, because the club doesn't know where the target is. So it doesn't magically go to the target, forgiveness, but it holds on to speed. So if you hit a shot and you know you haven't hit it, but it's fairly straight, it's on line, these clubs will let you off with that. Whereas something like a Taylormade P7CB or a Ping Blueprint S will fall out of the air a lot quicker because there's just not as much forgiveness across the face. You need to hit those clubs out of the middle a bit more. So I want to talk about the HL a little bit before I hit it. The head, when you look at it up against the standard Elyte, looks a little bit different. They both have this cat-back design, which you're seeing a lot more in game improvement clubs. But you can notice a subtle difference on the HL. The back edge, the sole unit, protrudes out slightly more than the standard Elyte, and that's obviously dragging the weight back and possibly putting a little bit more weight down low, which helps get the ball up in the air again. So in conjunction with the weaker loft, also got some weight changes in there as well. When you put them down, you can actually notice a little bit of a difference. There's possibly a slightly smaller look again to the standard Elyte than there is on the HL. The top lines are pretty similar, but the blade length looks a little bit shorter on the standard one. And offset, difficult to tell. There's possibly a tiny bit more offset on the HL, but there's not a lot on either of these clubs. And in fact, both of these clubs, in terms of a game improvement club, really look quite sleek and quite small. And that won't be for everyone. Now, the Taylormade Qi is a different beast altogether. It looks a lot bigger, longer heel to toe, much thicker top line. When you put it down against the HL, it's noticeable how much smaller the HL is to the Qi. The Qi has got a much thicker top line. As I say, it's longer, it just looks bigger. Now, to some people, especially in this category where you're looking for ultimate forgiveness, that's a good thing, the Qi. That it's bigger, it's more reassuring, it's more confidence inspiring. But generally, in golf clubs, a lot of the time, a thinner top line is seen as being slightly more attractive, but that is, again, totally up to you and shouldn't cloud my judgment on this club, and it won't do. So, lots of technology packed into these. You've got all sorts of cushioning materials in there. Callaway use something called microspheres, and Taylormade use speed foam. They've got AI faces. The Taylormade has flighted technology so that the long irons are supposed to go up in the air a bit more and the short irons are supposed to be knocked down a little bit. There's all sorts of stuff. There's all the forgiveness they can throw at these now, and it's all slightly hidden now, as I say, in this cat-back design that you get. The Callaway Elyte that I've tested before in the standard head was unbelievably soft. It felt virtually as soft as a forged face club or a forged head club, which is a softer metal. And that in a game improvement iron is unbelievable. So the two tests I've done with the standard Elite, one I was getting about 5,000 spin, 42 degree descent angle, and 172 carry. The next test I did, I must have been swinging a bit different, using some sort of lead ball, I don't know. I was using the same ball. I just had a different swinging day, and I got much lower spin characteristics. I got almost down near 4,000, but a much longer distance. So I was hitting it suddenly 183 carry. So depending on how you swing and how you approach the ball, you might have to watch what you're doing with the standard Callaway Elite iron. And that might be why the HL will come into the equation for you. But it'll be interesting to see how this HL goes in comparison to the Elite. And I will hit the standard Elite at the end just to see what the difference is today. So I'll hit the QI first and follow up with the HL. So I'm using similar shafts. I don't actually quite have exactly the same shafts available in both, but this is a Nippon NS Pro Modus Tour 105 stiff flex. And the Callaway is a Dynamic Gold mid 100, so very similar sort of spec shafts. I might not do quite as many shots tonight because actually, if the truth be told, tried to do this test last night and managed to do the entire test without the microphone plugged in. And so I do know actually the results of this test, but I'm going to act like I don't. Right, so QI down behind the ball looks a big beast. I've always said this, it looks big. But again, that could be just a ticket for certain people. That felt like a nice strike. Did get it. I thought for a minute, one horrible moment, Skytrack wasn't going to get that. If anybody's seen any of my other reviews, sometimes I have to get the hammer out to warn Skytrack to not miss shots. But actually, since I've done the update and got the slightly newer screen and everything, it's hardly been missing any shots. So I think it might have been down to the fact I had the old technology. Keep that one in, 5,000 spin, 45 degree descent angle, 180 in the air, 194. So that was one of the top figures I think I was getting. That felt quite a good one. It feels quite nice. I mean, that was out the middle and it feels nice, but it's a little bit louder and a little bit sharper, the sound on it. It's not the absolute softest club I've ever hit this. It's perfectly acceptable, but you wouldn't describe it as soft. 178, 193, 49 spin, 44 descent angle, so it's still stopping to a certain degree, but yeah, it's strong distance on this. That was okay. I mean, not an absolutely perfect strike, but one that I could easily hit on the golf course a lot. These are going miles. 178, 194, a little bit lower spin, but we'll keep it in. I think that was okay, possibly a little bit scoopy with the strike, which means it could be low spin. 176, yeah, a little bit low in the spin. Still 45 degree descent angle, so that's the angle it's coming down at is actually still going to enable it to calm down once it hits the green. It's not perfect, but yeah, 172, 180, so we'll leave it in. A little bit low in the spin, but again, descent angle's okay, but it wasn't a perfect strike. That was a nice shot. And that felt nice. It didn't feel harsh or anything like that. That was out in the middle. 179 in the air, 194. Descent angle's okay, spin's a wee bit low at 4.8, but it's going a long way, as I say. That felt a nice strike. Surely that'll have a bit more spin on it. It's a nice club to hit. I just remember the Elite and I'm spoilt now, but we'll revisit that in a minute. 176, 192, the spin's a bit low, but again the descent angle 46, so I think we leave it in. So we'll try the HL now. So when I put the HL down behind the ball, it's a nice head. It's got a much thinner top line than the QI. It's a slightly smaller head, but it's not tiny. A little bit of offset, but not much. It's a more attractive club from my point of view, but that might not be for everyone. Now, when I put the other one up against it, the standard Elite, it's quite noticeable that the HL is a little bit bigger. I didn't realise that at first. Good that they've changed it a little bit, because the feeling you get from the QI HL is that all they've done is just change the loft to 30. It doesn't feel like there's anything different, whereas these do feel like they're engineered, not only the loft, but also the club head itself. So here we go, HL. that was a solid strike. You might think, well, why did you sound so surprised about that? It's because I've hit about 5 before this where I couldn't remotely count them. 170 for 181, 47 degree descent angle and 5,400 spin. So more spin, more height than the QI so far after one shot. Hardly conclusive. Good strike right out the middle. Really nice feel. Soft, virtually virgin on forged. Not quite as far as the QI, 172, 184, 47 descent and 5.4 on the spin, so I'm getting a lot more spin and a lot more height with this so far. That was a nice strike again. It's not feeling like such a sledgehammer as the QI did. It feels like it's not going quite as far. I mean, that's still got 180, 194. The spin was a bit lower on that one, 4.7, but again, descent angle 46, so it's not too bad. So it can mix it with a QI. Okay, I think countable, hopefully, so we can go home and have our tea. Nah, it was a scoopy one, let's leave it out. I'm having to take a lot of these out at the moment, and they're still getting to about 180 and mid 180s, but I'm getting funny spin readings, and I just know I haven't hit them properly, and so I'm trying to keep it as true to how I hit the QI as I hit this. That was a nice strike. Took a while to get there again. That was a nice strike. It feels so soft, this, for a Game Improvement Club. It is not funny. 174, 188. I want to hit the standard one after this, just to check on feel as much as anything, but also just to see what is the difference, if any. Don't hit loads or we will be here all day. So that's 174, 188, 5,000 spin, 45 degree descent angle. That's about right. Nice strike again. It's a lovely thing to hit this, the Elite. I know I've shoved that out a little bit right, but I don't care because it felt nice. 175 for 189. So again, strong figures. More spin, 5,000. Okay, it's not setting the spin world alight. 46 degree descent angle though. Oh, nice strike again. I could use this, you know that. A version of this Elite would be perfectly good for me because of the way it feels. Because I like a soft feel and I like a smaller head. And this thing is so soft. 171, 187, a little bit lower and everything there, but still okay, descent angle wise. Decent shot, I think. Yeah, fairly straight. I don't think it was absolutely flush mode central or anything. 172 for 187. The spin went down a little bit, but probably representative in a way of the way I hit the QI as well. So that is all the shots done. Let's have a look at the figures. Actually, let's not do the figures. Remember I said I was going to hit the standard one. Nearly forgot. Yeah, again, this just looks so attractive to me when I put it down. It just looks like something I would use. There's fractionally less offset, I would say. It's definitely smaller. The top line's probably the same as the HL. But you do notice a difference in the look of the standard one. So I'm going to try and just hit one good one of this and walk away. Oh, what a strike. What a lovely golf shot. And what a lovely feel from this club. Honestly, I'm almost starting to think it's nicer feel than my Ping Eye 530. What's it got? 181, 195, 5,000 spin. So I'm back to the sort of figures I got in the first test. I'm going to have to say that that second test I did was a bit of an anomaly because that is what you can get if you hit it properly, Fraser. 18 degree launch, 5,000 spin, 46 degree descent angle, 181 in there and 195. It's not going actually any further than I hit a really good i530 to be honest. But it's just amazing the feel of it when you consider that it is purely in the game improvement category. So it's supposed to be all out forgiveness at the expense of everything else. And it seems like there is no expense, that you do have the softness as well. So congratulations on discovering microspheres. Where have they been all this time? Right, let's have a look at the figures now. Right, so we've got 120 ball speed on the QI, 118 on the HL, so a little bit of an advantage. It could be that they've just engineered that face to be a little bit faster, possibly on the QI, or it could have just been the batch. There's not a lot of difference between those two, 2 miles an hour. and I'm not a robot. It could have been to do with the batch, could have been to do with the fact that I turned the face over, goes out a little bit lower, a little bit faster. So don't read too much into that. Launch 18, again, that would indicate that possibly I had the face shut a little bit because they are the same loft to start with. But it could also mean that the HL's got a little bit more help getting it up in the air. That's possible. We've got lower spin on the QI 4, 8, 6, 9, 5,000. Now yesterday, and I can maybe put these figures up as well, it was much more evenly matched. So this is where the human error thing comes in. The spin wasn't a lot of difference. I think it was both about 5.2 in fact from memory, but you'll see on the screen. So these are a little bit more of a difference today, so I wouldn't read too much into it. I think I kind of felt like the figures yesterday were quite well matched. Today we've got a little bit of a difference. We've got the QI going out a bit lower, we've got more carry by 4 yards, not a lot. Again, I can't help feeling it was a little bit to do with the batches. I did hit a few more left with the QI. 192 overall and 187. Not a lot of difference. In terms of the descent angle, 45 on the QI was actually quite good considering that, you know, the launch angle was down, the spin was down a little bit. The descent angle still at 45, not too bad. And then 46, a little bit better on the HL. So, okay, there looks a wee bit of a difference there, and you'd maybe say that, oh yeah, the HL's going a little bit higher. Sorry, I keep calling the HL the Elite HL, but the QI, of course, is called QI HL, so you're probably thinking, what the hell one is he talking about? When I say HL, for some reason I'm meaning Elite, and when I say QI, I'm obviously talking about the QI. So yeah, that shows a little bit more of a discrepancy, but if you look at the figures from yesterday, they're closer. My gut feeling was the QI was going a little bit further overall, but then when I saw the figures yesterday, there was nothing much in it. They were virtually the same. Today's showing that the QI is going a tiny bit further. I mean, if you had to put money on it, you'd maybe say that the QI possibly might have a little bit more speed and power, but it's, you know, it's hardly anything. It's going to be like 1-2 yards at the very most, if there's even anything. I don't know what the robots would say, but I really don't think it's a lot. What I thought yesterday, and I kind of sticking by it today as well, is that the performance wasn't different enough for me to say, well, you need to go for this because it's better. It's performing better. What it came down to was the looks and the feel, because they're the same price. So it really is literally coming down to looks and feel. And feel, there's just no contest. The HL Elite and the standard one are just the softest game improvement clubs I've ever felt. End of story. Didn't know we were ever going to get game improvement clubs that felt as soft as that. The QI is not bad. It doesn't feel bad in any way, but to me, the Callaway have raised the level expected now for game improvement clubs, and if they can get this one to feel like this, I don't see why other manufacturers can't get theirs to feel like that. Different if they were producing much faster ball speeds and saying, well, we can't quite get the soft feel, but look how fast it's coming off the face, look at the distance you're getting. It's not really the case. I know that showed a little bit today, but that yesterday, if you look at yesterday's results, as I've said, virtually nothing in it, and that's my gut feeling, that there's not really enough in it performance wise to say one's better. So for me, it's a win for the HL, but that's the Elite. Again, keep leaving out the name Elite, but it's up to you, because you might like the forgiveness in terms of the looks of the QI. You might think, oh, this looks reassuring, looks like it's really going to be helpful to me. It's possibly got a little bit of a wider sole, although the Callaway sole has been engineered to get through the turf in a better way. They've made a point of talking about that in their literature, that they've designed it and to avoid you hitting fat shots. So yeah, really impressed with both of them, but the Callaway Elite stands out a little bit just in terms of the feel. In terms of these being higher launch, yes, they are a little bit than the standard ones, and it might be that these will suit you better. I didn't see masses of difference. I mean, if you look at the bottom one there where I hit the standard one, I still managed to get 5,000 spin, and I got 18 launch, I got 46 on the descent. When you hit that properly for certain people, then it is okay, the figures. But if you're not swinging quite as fast, then the standard one tends to fall out the air a little bit. And I did find over the course of a batch, when you didn't hit it, the spin got really low. So be careful with the standard one. Try them both. If you can go for a fitting and try them both, that would be great. But rest assured, with both Elites, you're getting one of the softest game improvement clubs on the market. If you've got any questions, put them in the comments and I'll get back to you. And once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.